Hello and welcome. This is going to be perhaps an extension to today's Daily Dharma. Just as we were getting into the deck, I was anxious to get into. We had underneath the deck sexuality and storm showing up in the reverse, which I don't normally read reversals, nor do they usually get flipped in my decks. And then this celestial card, which began our reading, and then this union card that also showed itself. All of these were right at the bottom of the deck, and as that was happening, the one that flew out here was actually fairy magic. So that was right where we got cut off. You can view the previous message if you want to hear more about that. But in a nutshell, as the title on that suggests, was talking about the embodiment of our ability to be a bridge between spirit and matter, and how that is actually happening through the full embodiment of our sensuality, all that we are coming online, and then being completely in tune and aligned with all of these vibrational resonances. And then we had this. So I feel like there's a lot of fairy magic at work and play in our lives, where we are told to be getting back into more of a playful, innocent, childlike spark type of mindset with these things, getting tuned into being excited and delighted came out over the changes to come, the adventures to come, and perhaps playing a mental game with ourselves as, if there were no things seeming to tether me to this experience or this moment or these limitations, what would I do with my energy? And, it's not like bungee jumping. I mean, that's like a momentary thing. It's just a thing. But and maybe that is a bucket list thing. But I guess what I'm talking about is like, what would you spend your time doing as a pursuit? How would you wake up, and how would your day progress? Like, how would you spend your vibrational abundance, your resource that is your time, attention, and efforts in a perfect context? And I think that fairy magic can be talking about both those things that we get distracted by and lose time to, such as like the scrolling on the phone, or getting stuck on a TV, or stuck in a particular job that's not really that fulfilling or rewarding for years on end, or in a relationship that is incompatible for decades, perhaps, whatever it might be for you, or in a mindset of, never having been able to see your value in some type of a way, or only seeing yourself being disempowered or betrayed or victimized or stolen from, or fill in the blank. Fairy magic can be deceptive in that way, and it can keep us playing with our energy in faulty ways with the ego mind, instead of actually seeing through that veil and out into the place where we've learned to unteach ourselves of the false and to see towards the light. And as we move through, perhaps it's like, I've seen this meme, this Renaissance guy's like peeking outside of the confines of the earth and peering into the cosmos, literally, like he put his head through a curtain that was like the atmosphere of the earth. I think that's what it was. And I feel like that's kind of symbolically what we're doing. We're looking in behind the curtain to the man behind the curtain, like in Wizard of Oz. And then it just ends up being like, at the end of the day, perhaps the boss or the tyrant is nothing but a human with their own problems and their own brokenness and their own ego. And maybe that's obvious, maybe it's not. But at the end of the day, we're also that individual. And so we don't need to help another person who is a tyrant to live out their process any longer. If that's not what's in our heart, we can actually choose to skip timelines and go someplace that's just beyond our imagination. And since those of us tuning in here are already aware of that whole preceding message is about how we actually teach others to cross this bridge, to embody this bridge, this portal that we have become. We are showing others how to become their own inner portal. And I believe that these cards here, it's talking about that, the above and below, the alchemy and the cosmonaut, the old soul akashic 0 point field, all coming, going, experiences converging, pressuring into the middle, into the heart, the portal of the heart, to that unconditional universal love, that unity consciousness, all coming online powerfully. And then we have this, the storm and the sexuality. It's like, this is like the recognition of how to plug back into the experience, how to unlearn, unprogram, and reprogram ourselves and others to utilize the storms of life, the suffering that perhaps has been seen to be endured, or, you know, the collective suffering, and how we can see that as not bad, not as though they're not serving, but how they divinely do serve the process of contrast and what we do want. So I see that we're perhaps disengaging in some either karmic, or it could literally be a sexual dynamic that's being disengaged from for some. But I kind of feel like it's the plugging back into one's more sacred sexuality. And that's the immediate impulse I got, was that sexuality in reversed doesn't mean like bad sensuality or the absence of. I feel like it's talking about how those primal chemical processes within the body are able to be harnessed as Kundalini and not spent out in exploits or sensual pursuits, even if that's like numbing behavior that we, such as we talked about, or even sexually exploitative practice. And we'll all have our own codes of ethics, and I don't mean to judge anyone, but you know, just that the difference between, let's say, being in a consensual adult, honoring, respectful, consensual engagement on any level that's right for you is much different than somebody who is secluded and taking in perhaps even an excess of energy, such as pornography, where if we looked into the industry, by and large, it's not about the moral of, you know, our naked bodies at fault, which it's not, because sacred sexuality honors the vessel to the extreme and doesn't think it's dirty or shameful. But the other end is like the twisted root of the chakra system that says that pleasure is pain, and it exploits the workers in the trade, and it doesn't honor, it doesn't, there's no connection, and it's not to create anything that's healthy, I want to say. Okay, tangent over. I think that you get the difference here about being able to unplug from what the perhaps more toxic perceptions and the energy surrounding that, the individuals that take that in can sometimes, you can even look it up, it's studied fact that it really influences their ability to have partnerships that are fulfilling, bonded, and it leads to many other complications in their personal relationships, their relationship to self, their ability to actually feel connected to that life force energy, the Kundalini. Let's face it, it's not about your ability to function, it's about your life blood, the actual spiritual flame that is to be honored and sacred and cultivated within. When we engage in some of these practices in the wrong way, so many of these words can be triggering, but that chaos is showing itself to us to then say, well, how would it be better? What would be preferred? A conscious partner that's at your level, that wants what you want, ultimately is kind of where that's at for some. And in others, I think that this is an internal process of reconnecting to our own sacred sexuality, which isn't so-called sexual very much at all, the way as we would egoically define our sexuality. It's more about our sensuality, which is related to all of the 6+ senses and our ability to integrate light into matter. That's sexuality. But we've been distracted, we've been deluded, we've been gaslit into believing that it's all about, you know, mixing fluids. Sorry if this is too much for some of you. It is what it is. So, yeah, I was getting quite a bit of that. So the fairy magic here telling us that we need to really become aware, and very critically aware, of what our values are and our beliefs are, in alignment with what type of use and respect and integration interactions that we choose for, and finding that seed within the self, and that's where our magic is being plugged into. That's why it's called sacred, because sacred sexuality, it's the birth portal of the heart, and it's how we birth reality, is based on a combination of how we integrate everything and then birth it into this world through vibrational resonance. And even though we speak it through the voice, so much more of it is really emanating from the heart. So I feel like this is where many of us are coming back into the center and being able to pierce through the veil of consciousness and of this magical delusion, and out into the true reality of how to plug back into the essence of the life force energy, and to then the root spinning in the correct way connects us to the earthly vessel in the right way. The heart-based connection connects us both with others and with the self very powerfully, and then emanates that result back out. And so that's what's being shown up in that card for me. So let's see, anything else? A couple more. Okay, we'll let those ones fall. Underneath is right. So much writing has been coming out. There are many of us who are putting things into this world in written form, spoken word, on different social media platforms, writing books, writing memoirs, writing songs, journaling, whatever it is. There are those things happening, but I'm seeing okay, I am a Marvel fan. No apologies. And when Thor is shown to be coming down and through the Bifrost or whatever, or no, it's just kind of by virtue of his thing. I was never a comic book person, so I don't know. Some of you will know. When he comes through the portal and lands on Earth or takes off, there's like this scorch mark in the earth. And it's also showing me like crop circles, things like that. That's kind of like how our vibrational resonance remains here after perhaps we are long gone, or in a place that we leave. Our energy remains. We influence things even if we're just walking through. And I said this the other day to a friend. It's like through every travel that we make, every footstep that we take throughout this world, we are weaving and leaving a breadcrumb trail of our energetic trajectory. Our pathway, our life path, becomes its own energetically charged ley line. And if you don't know what ley lines are, it talks about the various energetic channels along the earth, and how you can even chart this throughout history, where powerful events happen along these charged lines. there's much more to it than that. But let me tell you what cards came out. I thought I had one on the ground. I guess not. We've got, it looks like 4 on the table here. Music flew face up, which is why I said you may be writing music, or you may be just listening to music to shift your vibrational awareness, or to allow yourself to have that intentional distraction that will keep you from reaching towards the unhealthy distractions like your phone. You know, if you're listening to music, you might not be so likely to fall into those old loops or patterns that are the boredom or need for stimulation that lead us to go and do those things that are habitual but unfulfilling, right? Music kind of fills that illusion that there's a void that needs filling, because music fills the soul, because no matter the notes that are being hit, it hits the soul and it resonates with us on a level. And so intentionally having the perfect music as like the soundtrack that you are stitching with the ley lines of your life can be so much more beneficial than even the looping patterns that we engage in the mind. Okay, beautiful. Look at what comes out here. So mediumship with vibrational and gifted. So you are a gifted medium in this world, and that's exactly what I hope you can get this from the words that I'm saying, because it's such a powerful vision to say that the gift that we are is the vibrational resonance that we broadcast, because this 3D printer imagery keeps coming up the last few days where we are the medium, the materialized structure that's leaving this imprint, because we are energetically channeling vibrational frequencies and we are recording them into the Akashic memory by virtue of every one of our choices and the resulting consequences and influences coming from that space. So we are like burning that, tattooing that into the clay that is the earth. We are walking a pathway of love and light and a little bit of learning and missteps, but we're making it part of the dance as we become more and more aware and attuned to the blessing that we are, and to the influences that we give our attention to. And are we a gift to this world? Definitely, when we are able to be the medium of both cosmic and earthly sacredness, I want to say. And you know, I don't want to demonize the earth either. I think if you've been listening to this channel or even this broadcast, there are times where we've talked about how that earthly sensuality is really how we call upon our Kundalini. We call upon our vibrational power, and we conjure that energy up into, whether it's the heart, the voice, the eyes, the third eye, to paint and sculpt that picture out for another individual to be able to receive that vibrational resonance. This is how we are mediums. We are weaving and unteaching and reprogramming the collective through the beacon of the broadcast of our vibrational awareness and our belief in this beauty and the miraculous energy that's out there. We're using our energy and our power in a very powerful way to seed more consciousness, awareness, love, light, all of this into the collective. Let's see if we can get anything from the Akashic Tarot. And we will catch an oracle card and we will leave it there. Okay, I want that one back there. Yes, okay, 7 of Forces, balance. So there's a lot of karmic balancing coming in. I feel like we have already been working with a lot of these energies, rebalancing the contrast that exists, the duality that exists here. And in this convergence energy, this celestial convergence where everything kind of comes through the portal of our heart, that is where we are able to be like, okay, there, another Thor thing where he's in that the forge of that other place where he's getting his new weapon. Those of you who know will know, but he's got to hold open the eye of this thing that puts all this surging energy through his beingness and almost fries him. And he's got to just hold it open for a length of time in order that it puts the amount of heat into the eye of this thing that then creates all the processes to then start to turn again, and he reanimates this machine, this the weapon forgery, is that what they say? And forgery even is like misrepresentation, right? Fraud, forgery. And we started out the previous message with many masks, and that's sitting right on top of it. But your belief is fearless. It's like you can see through the masks, you can see through the emotional masks that people hide themselves from themselves with. You can see beyond that, and there's a way that, without perhaps approaching something in a way that would create more resistance head on, perhaps you're able to sidestep and subtly invite people back into their own power, not by force, as is the toxic way, but by resonance, by dancing in innocence and beauty and love, right? So sounds like a cat poster. So the birth card, number 4, came out yesterday. Birth is like what we are bringing in right now. I don't think that very many of us can really understand the gravity of the shifts and changes that are coming in within the lifetimes of the children that are here now. Perhaps not mine, perhaps not yours, but I think that we're going to start to see things really taking root with all of these younger generations coming up. And if we can take the awareness to see how the older generations sell themselves short and sabotage themselves and their generational lines by their resistance to the youth, I think that we can really create some powerful shifts and change. And some of you may fight me on this, but I was listening to this song yesterday. It's a classic rock song, and my daughter was in the car. It's the signs, signs, everywhere signs. And there's this part about the guy goes in where the help wanted sign is, and he puts his long hair up in his hat, and the guy's like, you know the song probably. You look like a fine, outstanding young man. I think you'll do. And so the guy takes off his hat. He says, imagine that, me working for you. So it's like my daughter questioned, well, I don't know why they had a problem with long-haired people. I was like, well, look at everybody now. They have such a problem with this. This group has such a problem with that. I have a problem with this other thing. I was like, we do it to each other. We think that this compartmentalized experience is one size fits all. And my friend yesterday at her garage sale, she's like, yeah, these are one size fits all. I'm like, maybe you got the child's size. Um, anyways, it's like that type of idea. And I think that I'm joking and laughing about it because to be playful is to really get the essence of it. We're not here to suffer. We've perhaps been led to believe by different sects of the community, sects. And but it's an illusion. It's not about the suffering. Suffering brings the contrast of the good and the light, but suffering is just part of the process. It's not the purpose. The purpose is to love anyways, to remain open, fearlessly embodying your courage and your beauty, no matter if you have a crooked nose or if you're, I don't know, too purple, too tall, you know, whatever. Maybe your ears are crooked. It's whatever. and this is all about appearances. I apologize for the tirades and the rants today. It's part of the energy, I guess. Yeah, so I don't even know where we're going with that. Where were we going? Yeah, playfulness and taking ourselves less seriously, but also taking the sacredness much more seriously, defining what we are here personally to do, not somebody else's morality, not somebody else's choices, but to delight in the diversity. Because if we were all the same, that's 0 point. That's homogeny. And then there's no reason for this embodiment process. To be embodied is to engage in friction. I said that the other day to a friend. We were talking about many things. And, the experience is all about bumping up with other particles. That's what becomes the weaving process, the dichotomy, the stitching of earth and stardust, perhaps, that creates the excited particles. They're only activated and excited under perhaps pressure, or under the influence of a catalyst or an enzyme, perhaps, so we are that catalyst that is here for a reason or a season, and we are here also to break ranks with those that tell us that what we do as we get older and more mature is to disregard the wisdom of those below us or younger than us. Because just think about it, the most wise that we perhaps were in some level was when we were that innocent child that was first here, that didn't hesitate to advocate for, hey, I'm cold, I'm hungry, I need a hug, I need belonging, I need to feel safe and secure. Those are the things that were automatic, divine, inspired, surrounded by prosperity, knowing nothing of scarcity. It's like, hey, throw me some food here. I need food. I'm a being. I require nourishment. And then we asked and hopefully received. But that becomes then the first programming. Do we get what we require? But now we're old enough to serve for ourselves and to witness how to then be the sacred sovereigns that then are not challenged by the sovereignty of another that isn't one size fits all. We can agree to disagree because it's no skin off our teeth, so to speak. It's not like we need them to validate us, right? If you believe it, then what does it matter if anybody else believes it, right? And if you don't believe it, then you're going to need others to reinforce or to challenge that belief pattern through friction and diversity, to be able to reinforce your awareness and to challenge and unlearn and reteach and reprogram self and others. Life is better together. Absolutely. Seek assistance from your community. Connect with family, friends, or others who will support you. It can be as simple as making a phone call. So there's definitely a need to engage with others who are on the same path, because although this diversity and contrast has a lot to teach us, those that are at our level can inspire us to go to higher levels. Because if we're engaged in contrast energy all the time, it can be grating, it can be degrading, it can be competitive, quarrelsome. It can really lower our vibrational resonance and say, life is struggle, life is suffering, people are like this, this, this. But when we're with others, it's like, oh, their diversity inspires us and excites us and helps us to redefine the things that we think, feel, and believe, and to put those into vibrational resonance. And that uplifts us and charges us back up with hope, passion, and sensual delightfulness. That's like, yes, this world is also a place of amazing miracles every day. Keeping it in check. I think this is the self-monitoring, the unteaching, reprogramming of self here, and being able to be challenged by the friction and contrast without being dissuaded from our ultimate sacredness and faith in unity. Keeping it in check says pay attention to what's going on around you. You might be moving into something too quickly or missing some important details. Interesting. So, I mean, take all of this broadcast with a grain of salt, then, if you will, because we all can get things tangled up. And yeah, so if I have not gotten to the nuances, that's for you to probably unpack. This is a general reading. As many of you know, you got to flip it and reverse it. Only take what resonates and leave the rest for others. These are just some suggested thought patterns and ideas to perhaps help you to have some conversation starters or re-inspire you to think in your own sovereign way. Kadga, number 9. I was also thinking that keeping it in check is 8. We've got Crown Games number 8, lots of 8s, and now we have number 9. So that's all about being able to self-liberate and shift and change. Under the deck, Lalita Tripura Sundari. I think I'm butchering that, number 18. It's Golden Maiden card. Oh, I'm going to run out of time and won't be able to read these both to you guys, but we'll just tell you a little bit about the Kadka card. Says she's wielding the holy sword of divine severance, empowering the soul in a radical letting go. She instills the courage to bear the pain of loss and the wisdom to realize the secret blessing that can only arise when we embrace change. So something is fading out of our lives because we're graduating. Some type of spiritual mastery is underway. She's the sacred liberator, and her sword clears the path, revealing truth. There's much more there, but I'm just giving you guys a little synopsis here. Lalita here, number 18. With luminous grace, she plays her way into our hearts, softening hardness and despair, awakening the remembrance of light, love, and joy. What did I say? No matter what you've experienced, your heart shall be cleansed and released from ugliness, sorrow, and pain. Negative karmic legacies will be cleared away. Our divine sister goddess invites you to recognize her golden restorative beauty shining within your heart. Cultivate that which is worthy of such beauty, for this is your essential nature. Gracefully release all else with dignity. Beautiful. And these are some of the internal processes that we're being charged to unlearn and release, and to choose greater peace and greater self-honoring habits, routines, mindsets, ideologies, beliefs, and to then broadcast those, to get back into the heart fully. So, all right. Love you guys all very much. I appreciate you so much. Until next time, take good care of yourselves.